should we talk about Ferrari? Just Ferrarying all over Zandvoort. It was
No, no,
everywhere.
I'm gonna stick up Ferrari here. On like, is it Bernie Collins? She
Yeah,
said that that pit stop where they didn't have the wheels ready for him. He said he's coming in for the pit halfway down the pit lane.
I thought they called him in.
No, no, no. He called himself
No.
in. He said, "I'm coming in.
even still
I'm
though,
pitting."
even still,
As he was stopping, like Joe, you got to slow down.
Hmm.
And so obviously, what? And where are they, like third in the pit lane, fourth in the pit
Yeah.
lane? So they're quite close. So to have get the tires out the blanket and be that quick in time, it's impossible. So Ferrari, it weren't their fault. It was half Leclerc's fault because he called it a bit too late.
I'm going to argue against Ferrari here
Go on.
because well, they have eyes; they can see it's raining, so get the
Hmm.
tires ready.
Yeah,
And also,
that's also the point.
they spent 10 seconds looking at Leclerc's front wing. They could see it was missing an end plate, and they didn't change it, and they let him back out with a broken front wing. Why did they do that?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
they
I
wanted
agree
them to
with Dan. I think
get a bit
I
further up
think
the
he
track before they take it.
maybe, but
But it's
I agree with Dan. I think that whether you know whether your driver's coming in or not. I mean, because it was the rain was worse on the start finish straight. That's where the rain was the worst on the whole track. So you think if anything, they'd have the wheels ready and the car might go past. Like they might not come into pit lane. It should never be the case that. I mean, okay, fine. Even if we're going to say that Leclerc should have told them earlier, they still should have been ready. But still, Leclerc not telling them that he's coming in is a big tactical error. That is a big
no, I
mistake
no, I
from him.
agree. They
That
should
is a Ferrari issue.
like, do you see everyone else pitting for intermediates? They should have the tires there ready. But
Mm,
it's to be like, I know pit stops are so quick, but to get like the tires and run around, it'd be impossible to be that quick. But what I want to know is, when will Ferrari stop being Ferrari and start being a world class team again? Because last season
mm.
they were all over the shop again. This season, all over the shop. What's the problem? Because they've got two world class drivers, probably arguably both future champions, but one probably more of a future champion. But
Yeah,
when will it stop?
I think for me, I I think obviously this might sound just like plain and stupid, but the problem starts at the car. If they had a much faster car that could compete with the front runners, they wouldn't have to be in these situations
Well,
where they're worrying
they did
about.
last season.
They're not. I mean, it didn't really like it
Last season at the
was.
start, everyone thought, "Oh, this is a battle with Leclerc and
Yeah,
Verstappen here," and it just
exactly. But at the
fell
start,
off.
when the car could compete, even when it wasn't having engine issues, sorry, they were winning races. Leclerc had a big lead on Verstappen at one point. I think what was it, after 2 or 3 races, he was like 40 or 50 points ahead, and then suddenly the car wasn't as developed, and Red Bull were much were catching up, and the reliability was sorted out, and then they're back in the thick of it, and they just can't seem to handle it.
It's just I like to see Ferrari back up there fighting because they are probably the most well-known team in the sport.
Yeah, Ferrari are F1. You know,
But
they
Dan,
are
as the
royalty.
brains in this trio, what are your thoughts on Ferrari? When will they stop messing everything
It's
up?
hard. There's so much pressure on them, isn't there? Because they're Ferrari. And I was just thinking while you're talking then, like Leclerc's DNF'd again this week. Sainz
Mm,
was fifth, but he was obviously slower than the cars behind him. They're going to Monza this week. If they put in another performance like that at home, they are going to get absolutely slaughtered. And like I say, there's so much more pressure on them than any other team. The Italian media are straight on them every time it goes wrong. And they've got like it doesn't help when you've got a perception of being clowns, does it? Like you've seen the memes
no.
floating around. That can't be like good for the team morale because every time something does go wrong, there's the extra emphasis on it. And I don't know what's wrong with like Ferrari in general, like because you look at the drivers are good, aren't they? We know that
Mm.
they've shown last year they're capable of building a race winning car. They can do it. Like I say, I don't know. It just won't come together for them for some reason. Maybe like behind the scenes, that's something Redford has got to sort out.
They've
but
changed
like I say,
team
it's got to turn
control as well.
around. Yeah.
It's
Do we
just
think that Ferrari are now the fifth fastest car on the grid? Do we have Alpine outdeveloped them over the summer break?
no.
Nah.
No.
I
Okay.
think
Nah.
that race yesterday for Leclerc was just, if they didn't have all the problems, tires, front wing, I think he would have been up there. But
I'm not talking about Leclerc
just
though. I mean, Sainz was gapped by Pierre Gasly in an Alpine
yeah,
in the rain.
Gasly deserved that podium though. He was
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying he
unbelievable.
didn't,
But
but
I
but
think it's
but
too
but he
early
but
to
that car
say.
was faster.
It's too early to say because it's only been one race since the
Yeah.
summer break, and what that race had everything. It had 5 different weathers. It had every single flag. It had everything. So
Yeah.
it's a bit
It
early
was
to
it was a
say.
perfect storm, wasn't it, for a midfield podium?
Yeah, it's early to say who's better, Alpine or Ferrari. I'm still gonna say Ferrari because
The fact we're even having this conversation is ridiculous.
I know, I
Because
know.
it's
Like
far too early.
that's more why I asked the question because I think it's getting to the point where they just like it's just embarrassing. You know, Leclerc just having endless issues, and we know how fun, how mercurial of a driver he is. And Carlos Sainz, I think, is one of the most consistent drivers on the grid, and he's getting gapped by an Alpine that was having point scoring issues not too long ago. I just sort of it's very worrying.